Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's always a pleasure when I have certain things in my life that as a fan of love, as a fan of music, as a fan of just anything that make me laugh and happy. But the one thing that I always admired about life itself is having a fan base that's your fan base, something that just makes me become a fan of somebody. Like we may look at comedy and you guys have to name your top 5 comedians and all that stuff. And that's not really my thing because the top 5 comedians may be comedians that I know locally. And they don't even think they're that good. You know, they're still trying to get to where they have to go. But I know these guys so well. And I'm like, I know the levels of talent. And as I was just sharing with my sister, Mrs. Dawn Cook here, that talent actually makes the day go by better. You know, when you could apply yourself and do certain things. And, you know, the one thing that I do is not work. Some people are like, yo, what you been up to? Oh, just working. I'm like, hey, you know, I don't want to sit there and talk to you, right? I like to hear people to tell me something good. And I'm intrigued by jobs. You could drive an Uber, you could drive a train. I want to know, tell me the wildest thing you've seen, you know. You can tell me that you work in McDonald's. I want to think, what's the wildest thing that ever happened at the drive-thru? And you'd be surprised of people's stories. So, you know, there's a sister here. We're always talking about how we love the show 600 Pounds. And you know that show, Dawn?
I do.
Oh, that's my
vaguely, but yes.
The 600 Pounds is a great show because there's a lot of psychology in there. You know, people may look at it and think, oh, it's disgusting. You know, out here to eat their lives away. I'm like, you got to listen to these people's testimonies. Like, sit there when those psychotherapists come in there and they tell them their whole life. And there's the black woman that does it, and there's this little short guy. But the short dude, I like him because he's fun. He's funny. Like, you can't play with him. And most importantly, Dr. Wow or Dr. Now. I keep saying Dr. Wow. Right? Dr. Now is amazing. And he's another one. You can't play games with him. And I think that's a big thing these days. And as a man, we struggle too. Ladies don't realize that. Like we struggle because there's just not enough, yes, darling. There's not enough of men that we can talk to. Other than the fathers, and of course my dad raised me to be the man that I am, but we don't have the resources, more or less, to talk to men among us, not even necessarily online, but just amongst us when we going through certain things that we could talk to. So we may talk to our women, our wives, and in most cases, whether it's our wives or our sister, we reach this level where women may not understand the man's psyche, and they may have pushback or disagree or may have to comment something. And what it does with us, it pushes us back to say, I'm not going to talk about that anymore. You know, like the great Shaquille O'Neal said, never open up to a woman because she would throw it in your face. And I'm going to be honest with you. My mother doesn't do that. She never did that to me, thank God. My wife's not like that, but I would say the nature, I understood what he was saying. So he didn't have the ability to have, or the luxury or the privilege of having the right woman to open up to. So here, this is something that I want to do, that I always wanted to do, because I'm always talking. And sometimes I want people to ask Nathaniel, because that's my name. So ask me and let me get into the zone of being comfortable so women could understand to see when we have female friends, how important it is for the female friends to receive this information, because we have a professional here. She's a mother. She's a wife. She's an entrepreneur. She's an airplane commercial pilot. Excuse me. pilot that flies commercial jets. Let me say it the right way, okay? Let me say it the right way. Right? And most importantly, not only is she an author, but she's a therapist. So all of these different things. Now, some people say therapist, coach, therapist, the same thing. It's we need this. And I want to introduce y'all to Mrs. Dawn Cook. Goddamn. We welcome you, sister.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I have to say, so not quite a therapist as far as certified, but definitely a coach in that certification area. But
Right,
it's a lot. It's a lot going on right now, and there are conversations that are not being said. And I will say, especially this next generation coming up, I'm not sure if everybody understands how to communicate effectively. And so you and I are of one of generation, but we have an entire another generation where their communication is text and
right,
social media, but it's not this direct communication of what do you want? What would you like? What do you think? That isn't always part of their vernacular. And so that can be definitely a challenge. So regardless of the social media and the things that are coming in, we're social creatures
right,
and we need to communicate and we need to do that effectively. But these barriers that have come in with regards to uh, apps and phones, they're fantastic. That's great. But that can't be our only means of communicating because then there are barriers that are up. I mean, we can do that all the time. Every one of us, you, me, your spouse, whatever.
right.
We've received text messages that we thought, that doesn't sound right. Like that's weird. But when you actually speak to the person, then it makes sense. But when you're trying to fully communicate via these realms, it makes it very difficult. So no, I completely understand with regards to what you're saying and how we are doing this and why we're having this conversation. It's because we have to communicate. And
Yeah.
social media cannot be the only means of doing that.
Oh man, we appreciate that. Um, Dawn actually, I think we're gonna have to probably put the camera real quick because she's actually the first woman here that's wearing the shirt on the live stream. So we just need y'all to see what's going on here because we ain't playing today. We ain't playing. So like that is and shout out to everybody that was involved in this. There was a lot of women and a few men that were involved in this logo. And we're gonna get to business, man. So listen, I'm sitting back. The only thing I couldn't do right now because my daughter's over here playing with the phone or whatever, but I want to put my zone now in the zone of being in a, not therapist. Like we always say therapist, but we don't realize coaching therapist because coach. I think therapists should be licensed, but we still call a coach therapist, so it's called therapy. But she's a coach, and listen, I'm here, man. So Dawn, let the people let it come out your mouth of who you are and let you what you represent. And I gave my introduction, but I let them hear where you come from.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much for your introduction and for your support. And so my name is Dawn Cook, and I have just many realms, like every Black woman in this world, working, wifing, and momming. And so I'm a professional pilot. I'm a captain at a major airline. I'm a wife to an incredible man that I would clone for every woman. And he's an alpha. Gotta love that.
Well,
And
let me give him a shout out real quick. Shout out. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Cook. I don't want to say his first name, but if you would, but Mr. Cook, we want to say we appreciate you. It's a honor to work here with your wife here, and the fact that we can see couples such as Black couples to do the damn thing, flying these jets right over us. We appreciate you, and again, Don, like I always said, I wish one day we could just come here and talk to him one-on-one in regards to everything, because there's a lot of men right now that need to know right now that there's some careers that they can jump in aviation, even though we pro Black women here, but we want to see some of the brothers. So we appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you.
oh, thank you. Thank you. He is a great man, and I again, I would clone him if I could. And you know, being a, like I said, a wife and a mom to two beautiful, amazing young Black girls. And I think a lot of women are in this position. And you have all these invisible pulls that are on you. And so in that, I found that I just had some questions. So I reached out to a coach. I loved it. I became a certified coach. I wrote a book about it. And it was my perspective as a pilot and a coach, and brought those two aspects together. And it's a book called Aviatrix Mindset. And it's a very small book. You can read it in one day. And I wanted it small. So in one day, you could begin to change your life and change your life in every aspect, from how you do things, how you think, how you act, how you are. And I love to call it, just be bad. BAD. Be, act, and do. Be bad. Do it. Do it, do it, do it. Because that's where the miracles happen. So, and we'll chat about all that later, but it's an honor to be here. It's a pleasure, and it's it's a great time for this, because Nathaniel, you and I speak the same language. In this world and what we are doing, our people need us. Our people need us, and they need to know how to communicate and how to speak up and how to be leaders. And that's very, very important. So, thank you. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for this conversation. If not now, when? Because this is very important that we come together. And unfortunately, maybe it is going back in time. Maybe it is going back to the dream, because it has not become a reality.
Do you feel a difference in the climate? Literally, I mean, you are in aviation. Um, I could only imagine a lot of the things of you being in the sky could feel amazing and take off a lot of the pressure. But do you feel a difference when you land onto this soil, even as a human being, when you're getting off that aircraft? Do you feel a difference versus 5 years ago? Now, again, captain, we don't want to say pilot. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Captain.
Yes.
I'll explain that to y'all later what that actually means. Me, she runs the damn show, okay? Don't look at the TV. Don't watch the old movies, airplane. You got the pilot and the co-pilot, right? So she ain't the co-pilot, so you figure it out. But go ahead. So do you feel
Yes.
the difference? She's
Thank
helping,
you.
so I was
Thank
on
you.
the spot. So do you feel a difference in this climate right now that we're dealing in? Um, whether it's I'm pretty sure you go through online and you listen to some of the things on YouTube. What are you hearing? What do you feel?
So that's an excellent question. And as any person that is, um, I want to say, aware and educated and paying attention to what's going on, I I don't think it takes me landing in different places. Anyone at this point can be aware of the difference of climate. And so this is the beautiful thing. This is the beautiful thing that people will not talk about, but they are all aware of. You can walk into a room, any room, and let's say, you're just going about your day and you walk into a room, you can feel tension. You can feel being scared. You can feel, there are things that you can feel, and you can't put your finger on it, but Nathaniel, you've done it. You've walked into a room and you thought, oh, this is not good.
Yep.
It's nothing about it. There's nothing, like, you can feel it.
Mhm.
And that, I think, is what we are all dealing with. And it's not a matter of climbing, descending, landing. It's a matter of the people getting on that plane, the people that you're walking around in the airport, the people that you are like surrounded by. There's a different energy. And that is something, and it has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. As human beings, you have walked into a room and you have felt it. You have been like, oh, someone's mad, or there's a lot of tension, or this is not right. That is what I'm talking about. And that's what's going on right now. And it's very hard and it's very difficult, because you're not sure how to really approach that and how to protect yourself. And we are all creatures of habit. We are all creatures of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? We are all creatures of, just wanting to protect ourselves,
Right,
and
right.
you want to make sure you're okay.
That's our
And
nature.
so yes, that's exactly what it is. So it's very different in the fact that something is off. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration, and there have been times where my schedule has been changed and I've gotten aboard an aircraft and the passengers are already on board, and I have to tell you, it's anger. You walk on, and nobody has to say it, but they're angry. And
Wow.
I'm not late. It was just a quick schedule change, but they don't know that. But there's so much anger and frustration and tension right now. It's very difficult. It's very, it's very challenging. But people who look like me, people who look like you, we need to take that in, and we can't just say what we want to say because that's the world we live in.
You know what's scary about that? When and that's what gives us comfort when we know somebody else. I'm like, is it just me? And I'm like, something's off. And often, and even in your profession, you said you could walk onto an aircraft and feel that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. People are angry. They're very angry, and it's not just my airline. It's every airline. You can walk through the airport and it's frustration, but it's pent up, if that makes any sense. They're mad about so many other things in their life, and then when they get to the airport, it's an extra stress. And so I will say that is one of the odd things about my job is people can be frustrated all day long,
Right.
but once you get to an airport, it's just extra stress on top of stress, just because it's an unknown and something happened to you before and XYZ. But just in general, people they're very frustrated and they're very angry, and when there's no outlet for that, that can be very dangerous.
Yeah, that's true. That's something that when I realized just on a natural level how important it is, where you can think you're so much different than another human being, and it's like, no, you're human. Like this
Yeah.
is, and when we know that we can pick this up, no matter where she could be in another state. You like well, you're at work, you seeing people travel. It can't be like that. Yeah, it's still like that because there's still people getting on a plane and they still taking that anger from home. Maybe wondering or hoping that this trip is going to make them feel 10 times better. This is going to change my life. Just give me 1 week. I'm like, yeah, there was a time when I used to go on a vacation and literally that 1 week would have me good for about a month. Now it's like the way back home. We don't even get back to Kennedy Airport. We're literally leaving, and it's like, oh boy, here we go, and you feel the tension. So it's the expression that shows now. You see on social media, you see everybody's expressing.
Oh no, Nathaniel, I can't hear you. Okay, so this shows us going live. So here are the things that Nathaniel and I were going to talk about. And it was a lot to do about who you are and some of the questions that we have going on for 2025 and for men. And so some of those things were before we got introduced to the question aspect, it was you, you, you beautiful, amazing woman. My first question that I ask some of my clients, and you can find this in the book, The Aviatrix Mindset: what do you want? What do you want? And that's a very imperative question that not a lot of people ask themselves or ask of others. But what do you want? What do you want from this life? And we have to remember we wake up every morning, we go through the same thing. We wash our face, we have a hair routine, we have a face routine, we do all the stuff. But you waking up tomorrow is not guaranteed. You being here in 10 years, 5 years, 15, 20 years, that's not guaranteed. You have a limited time on this earth. So what do you want? What do you want to do with that? What do you want to create? I ran this morning to a beautiful song by Beyonce, and she talked about the chorus was, I want to prove that I'm here. I want to show that I'm here. I'm butchering this, and that's okay. But the point is, how will you show that you are here? Because you are important. You are important. You would not be here otherwise. So, how will you show that you are here? What is that little voice? There's a little voice. And if for those who don't remember, I will show my age. There is a old cartoon, and it was this cat named Tom and this little mouse called Jerry. I know, Tom and Jerry. Yeah, Don is old. But sometimes in the cartoon, Tom would have a devil on one side and he would have a angel on the other. But we all have that. It's not so much a devil and an angel. It's our old self and our new self. And there's this old self that is saying, do it. Just sleep in. Just hit snooze.
That was the craziest thing ever.
What happened?
I don't. Hold on. I think there's an outage that we having over here. Yeah, we had an outage over here, and this thing doesn't give you no warning. Hold on, let me just fix this
Damn. And she held it down because this was going to happen. StreamYard is going to reach out to me later and they see that this thing malfunctions. And I'm like, yo, listen, I'm out of here. And they're going to be like, no, don't leave. But you know what? I'm back. Jesus Christ. Don't take it out. Don't take it out. Okay, so thank you, Dawn, for holding that down. You are a true professional. Lord, can you hear me?
I can hear you. And I was
Oh, yeah.
actually, so they were still taping me. So I just started sharing with people as far as the old self and new self that we have with us at all times. And so I was like, well, if they're taping me, you can just use this for later.
This is that was great. That was because I was wondering. I was like, if the thing, if the Wi-Fi went up, but you still had the connection, so
I did, yes.
rock out. Whenever it does that, just do what you got to do. That's what I love because that's what I would have did. So I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay, so I know the people want to get to business. Listen, we'll put everything in the link. I gotta edit all this anyway because I gotta put everything in the link
Oh, fantastic.
and chop it all up. Not edit it, excuse me. I have to chop it all up because we have to put the little things so we'd be able to have our shorts and stuff like that. But here we're here for an exclusive, and Dawn definitely has she's given us the ability for women, and I hope you women, I'm gonna let her tell you in her own words, but I hope a lot of women could learn from this because this is a real big thing you should do when it comes to your marriage, dating, just one-on-one with your brother, male friends. This is how you want the male friend to be. If anybody, you want him to be comfortable. because there's a disconnect with us. Like Dawn was mentioning how there's so much anger because the disconnection is why, and women are from Mars and Neptune or whatever the nonsense is, right? But men are from the moon, wherever. But I feel that this is a definitely great technique. So, ladies and gentlemen, just sit back. Dawn, it's your world right now. You do what you got to do. Let them know.
Okay, so you had some questions and you asked me to create a few. And so, again, for those who have just joined us, my name is Dawn Cook. I have many umbrella and hats, but I'm a certified life coach and a professional pilot, a wife, a mother, and a working mom, a working woman, and a working Black woman in this
Working black
culture.
women, say that right. Working
Yes, a working Black woman in this day and age. And
yes.
we're having conversations because I have to say, if you don't ask women, you won't receive. This has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. But if you don't have the courage to ask, you won't receive. And so we're chatting today, and Nathaniel and I are going to have a few, interactive conversations and just with regards to asking questions and getting answers. But one thing I have to say is I hope every woman realizes that they are important. They are important, and you deserve, and you are worthy, and you are capable of extreme joy and wealth. And if you're not getting that, then you're not asking the right questions, and you have to open your heart to that because you get what you think you are capable of. You get what you think you are worthy of. If you think you are only worthy of going to this type of store and this type of treatment, then that's what you're going to receive. If you only think you're worthy of getting this type of treatment for a man and going to these type of places, that's what you will receive. And don't be jealous of other women. That's simply what they asked for. So we're going to roll this out, and there are going to be other questions involved. And, it's supposed to be a 21 question type of interview, and it might be short of that just because of the conversations that we get into. But I just want everyone to know, as a coach and a woman and a wife and a mom, I teach my girls this: if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. That's everything with school, with grades, with people. Ask. And you know why you ask? Because you are important, because your voice is important, because your desires are important. I don't care if you weren't raised that way. I don't care if you never thought about that. But if it's in your heart and if it's in your mind, then it's worth being said. I don't care where you are in life. If it's in your heart and if it's in your mind, it's worth being said. So we're going to roll back here. And so we're going to come back to this version of 21 questions. Again, we might not get to 21, and that's okay because it is a limited time. However, Nathaniel, I'd like to start as far as these questions. What is it like to be a Black man with this type of regime? What did that feel like? What did that feel like on January 20th? What did that feel like on election night? What did that feel like? Because it's a lot. It's a lot for all of us, but it's a lot for you. When you look back in history at Martin Luther King, at everything else that's happened, and I have to say, for this man to be put into office on a holiday for Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
what did that feel like for you? What
You
was that like? Question one.
Well, to answer your question in regards to what does it feel like to even be a Black man, coincides with all those questions under that one umbrella, as you can see, because
Mhm. It's a lot.
I felt in a strange way, I kind of predicted it. And not because it was just more of, I'm always thinking negative. I predicted it in a sense because I felt as if people are not educated on understanding what politics is about. When you have people that's angry and bitter in the world and they're casting their votes on top of that and mixing up the real things that people need to do, be together, love each other. You know, this woman, you know, in regards to the vice president, Kamala Harris, she was representing that, right? She was trying to at least put the people together. And I said to everybody, I said, nah, they ain't ready for that. The world is not ready for that right now. If this had been back at 9/11 around that time, it would have been a different time. But we're far from that, and people have forgotten. And I remember there was a time that the American flag used to mean, you know, one for all. Don't forget. Remember the thing was 9/11.
Oh,
Don't
yes.
forget. And now the flag living out here in Staten Island became like this whole Confederate flag. And literally, that's what the American flag. You see somebody put American flag on the back of a pickup truck. That's some, you know,
It's
anti.
embarrassing.
Yeah, it's very embarrassing. And you know, I felt as if, as a black man, I felt angry. You know what I mean? Like I felt as if I'm gonna be honest with you. And like I'm saying, no racist bastard better not say one word to me. I was coming on my jobs with a different attitude. It was really, really dangerous, to the point where when I'm working, I'm CJ. That's my nickname, right? But when I'm off work and I'm with my wife and daughter, then it's just like, you got one mistake, just look at me crazy. Just look at me crazy. This is like the day before election day. I'm in Costco's in Staten Island, not even the one in Jersey. I normally go to the one in Jersey. And they're walking around with the, you know, Make America Great Again hats. And my whole thing was like, listen, at the end of the day, listen, you just bump into my daughter, my wife, anything, I'm ready. Because I felt as if I'm so disappointed in America as a black man. You love us when we play athletes. You love us when we're rappers and entertainers, and you love us to be bodyguards and protect your wealth and all the above. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, how do we as a black man even represent our levels of who we are when on the actual day of the inauguration, we have the inauguration day of this Martin Luther King's birthday. So totally just alleviated that. Our mayor in New York City went out there and ran and sold out because he's trying to beat a charge of a government charge that he's under investigation. So he ran out there and skipped out on all the events. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt as a black man that I was mad more at black man, because I felt as if the black men that we have here now are not fighting. They smile on these people's faces. They coon. So as a black man, I'm not embarrassed to be a black man, but I started to feel a way about my own black man, knowing how they are. So in a nutshell, I kind of gave up on America and my brothers at the same time.
How does that feel, though? How does that feel to give up on your country? How does that feel? And this is the several questions. How does that feel to give up on your country? How does it feel to give up on your brotherhood? Your country first, because it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard to walk around and know, I don't know as a black person,
right.
as a minority, what he has going on. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes, right.
What he has going on.
Right.
You are ripping apart this country, person by person. And you're telling people in the government, if you don't tell on your other person, you can be fired.
Right. Yeah, they did.
How does that feel for you as a black man? And I'm saying this because you bring this home. You carry this. You carry this all throughout your day. And it's a lot because you carry a lot already. So how does that feel?
You know, I would say it's frustrating, and it's also, I feel like I'm being tested at the same time, because I'm working in all these areas.
Right.
My customers are these bases. So I feel as if when it comes in regards to America, I feel that the level of America now is an embarrassment. You know, many years ago, I used to say how when Trump got in the first time, I said, these other countries are laughing at us, man. It's a big joke. And I remember how there was this woman that told me this, and I had a good friend of mine, and I still somewhat relatively decent, but I knew her for all these years since we were kids. And she told me, I told me the white dude or whatever. She's like, listen, this white lady said to me, she said, listen, if your friend supports him, he is a racist. So she told me, right? And I tried to overlook it, but I could also hear my dad also say, his situation a little different because we already knew his trauma is coming up, whatever. He's just angry because his father walked out on him, was smoking dope, and the mother raised him, and she dipped out on him and went to Florida. So he has a lot of anger, and of course, this is the best place to join. But, I try everything. I try to do everything that I can't do not to be violent. And I feel that as long as, on a feeling level, as long as I'm disconnected or stay away from certain individuals, I won't get myself in trouble. Because one thing I don't want to do, I don't want to do what we are known to be. I don't want to be a criminal. I don't want to be in jail for putting somebody in the dirt. But I also feel as if now, like, if brothers actually started using their noodle and come together and doing what they got to do with their families, with their women, and leading the way, we could have a bigger imprint in this world. Now, look, this whole situation that happened with Nelly and Snoop, I feel that we're giving them too much attention as it is, because I feel as if that's the coolest situation that people are known for us to do it for the money or whatever. Who knows what Trump would have probably told him? Somebody probably told him, listen, if you don't perform, they will go kill your family. Whatever it is, and from him and seeing my mayor, I feel that we sold out. I feel that being a black man in America has its time, but I also feel that this is not going to end well. I really believe, I don't think it is. I think this is not going to end well, because I'm seeing a comedy show now that I'm starting to realize that a lot of the things have nothing to do with me in regards to, multi-billion-dollar companies and stuff like that, and having my investments in anything like that, because I'm a billionaire, which I'm not. Right? That yet, but
not yet.
Not yet. You know what I'm saying?
Not yet. Yes.
I also feel that there's a mark of, I just feel like from the bottom of my heart that, and please don't take this personal, ladies and gentlemen, but I feel like everybody's just a clown. Like I always see some clown shit in every individual, because nobody could really keep it 1,000 no more. And that frustrates me, because I'm just like, how could you just see this visual and see everything in your face and see what's going on, see the attitudes, and man arguing with the woman about, oh, well, we got to take the migrants and we got to send them back. And I'm sitting here like, yo, do you understand the repercussions? Like, there's not enough manpower in the United States to send these people back home at all. It's impossible. That's almost like telling somebody we're going to stop the war on drugs, and people believed that when Reagan was in office in '84, and it still hasn't happened, because you can't stop it. It's a never-ending war. So I'm frustrated, but I'm also focused, because I know that this is not going to end well. It's not. The repercussions for this, I'm more concerned for my daughter than me. Than anybody in this world, I'm more concerned for her, because whether the situation that's going to take place is going to take me out of here and she's left alone, or, you know what I mean? I feel that that's the only thing in a strange way that gives me some mode of comfort, because the clown shit is so intense that I can't have a good discussion with most people. It's almost as if like I just got to dumb down and just listen, because I'm like, another dumb F-U-C-K. Like I'm not cursing here, because I got the big boss watching. I don't want to scare. Listen, her husband gave me a gift right now, and I appreciate that. But yeah, but it's just really put me in a zone of one side is like the mode of frustration, and the other side is just like, all right, well, shit ain't gonna end well. You'll see. Without telling anybody, but I did. You understand? It's just got our minds all over the place. I was disappointed a lot when I heard black brothers that were going against Kamala, right? And I'm just like, bro, like, you got to come to me with some education. Don't talk to me about CNN. come to me with some real political science, shit that I learned in high school. Like I learned this many, many, many years ago. Like, and all your stuff is you have to have a conversation with me and Google something. Like, I just can't. So it is frustrating because I love my black brothers so much that I dislike them. Does that make
It's
sense?
hard. No, it's hard. It's hard. And I have to say, I even on my my travels, I saw uh a beautiful sister, gorgeous braids, just stunning. And I saw her braids before I saw the rest of her, and she had a hat on that said "Make America Great Again," and on the side it said "Never Surrender." And my mouth dropped. I was just like, "Oh." I was about to compliment her, and I stopped. I was like, "No, ma'am. No, no, I cannot support that." So that being said,
You know what I'm saying? It's
I do. But what do you think? We're going to keep these questions going. Not a good ending. What does that look like to you? Because we
I,
have to prepare for it. I think we all need to mentally prepare for it's here,
mhm.
but what does 4 years, 8 years, what does not 8 years for him? We know that. We know if you don't know that, read a book. Um, but at least four, but he has someone he's grooming, and we see how our country has gone. What does that look like? Like what do you think that looks like for you? Or for us? Like in your mind, what do you think that looks like? Because I have a few other questions as
Mhm.
far as follow-ups. Like it's a lot. My point is it's a lot for us. It's a lot for a black man as a father, as a provider, as a spouse, as a partner, as a friend, as a leader, as an entrepreneur. This is the exact opposite of where we all thought we would be in 2025.
Mhm.
So what does not good what does that seem for you?
Well, the ending part was like today. I think I forgot the woman that she was like a lead of the. She's
Oh, and I have to say, before you start, I love how you mentioned that, it's hard to talk to other people, but I read a quote today and it just stuck with me. You can't speak a butterfly language to caterpillars.
you know you
You
know
just
a
you
sister gave me
can't.
an email like that. That's real. that's,
You can't. You
that's the
can't.
thing that pulls me in all the time because I try to give the benefit of the doubt because sometimes I forget. Like my forgetful nature is a mode of me forgiving, right? So if I forgot what you did, right, I forgave you. But there's certain things that I may not have forgotten, but I haven't forgave, right? So a lot of times I'll try to. It gives me a reminder of why I don't do the things that I do in regards to certain people to encourage and help them. Like, yeah, this is why I don't be on this side of town. Like it gives me that reminder,
It
and I think the
does.
biggest thing is that there was this woman. They were doing the what's the things called like the migrants. They were catching them and arresting them all in New York and Jersey yesterday. And there was this
Oh,
woman that she got a little makeup on and her hair out and her little hat, and she's supposed to be leading the force. And I'm just like, yo, like leading of the ATF, and I'm like, yo, listen, you guys are coming in here. You're gonna go into the wrong house, and this shit's gonna cause a major problem. Because God forbid, you guys send back and rushing these people's churches and homes or wherever, their kids' schools, and grab somebody. It's gonna set the tension off in another country for things that you cannot imagine is gonna happen. I feel more sad for the people that's working the law enforcement because they're not even built for that. Let me tell you, I remember in 9/11, there wasn't, and I seen it, there wasn't a police officer that was larger than that. There wasn't an FBI agent that was larger than that. There wasn't an FT. There was nobody larger than that because nobody could stop a man's negative intention. So you got to think about it. 9/11 alone was already based on like two individuals, literally. They have no idea that when you have a person like this ruffling the feathers, giving the miserable people something to feel that they could be part of, which they're not getting anything out of the deal, mind you, at all. Like nothing. Like they're just going to sit there, send them back, give us what we need back, and give us what we have back. It's going to be a disaster. And you got to be prepared for that, because I'm telling you right now, I'm warning everybody, it's not going to end nice. No, we went through 9/11 and still dealing with the trauma. Some people are dealing with the trauma from 9/11 now. All right. Now you have COVID, and some people start dealing with the COVID trauma now. Then you have people that's going to be dealing with the COVID trauma 10 years from now, especially people that have long COVID. So these things have amazing impacts. So how could you think 4 years, forget the 4 years, I don't even see it lasting that long. I'm going to leave it there. No way.
Really?
Nah, there's no way, man. Listen, United States has the mentality that they believe that they're invincible, that nothing could stop them.
That's true.
I think
that is true.
We believe here that nothing could happen. And you got to look at the mode of, you didn't stop the dude in front of the damn building with the Tesla. You didn't stop the little situation that happened at the top of the year that happened in Bourbon Street. And how come you couldn't put out a fire? Like, what happens now when it's just something that we never thought that could happen, because that's what Americans do. We just don't think anything could happen here. That's why 9/11 destroyed us, okay? If you even live in New York City, 9/11 affected the whole country. It's never the same out here. It's not the same anymore. Hanging out and being around people and going to family reunions is not the same anymore. Everybody's depressed. Everybody's holding things in. So if you think 20, 25 years later into the millennium, 20 years out of that, you got to take away Facebook and all these different platforms that have impacted us negatively. How do you think with all that mixture and all that trauma, how do you think 4 years is just going to be and what about the people that put them in the office and they're not getting nothing out of the deal? They're not going to benefit anything. If you're a billionaire, you may get a benefit out the deal. That's if he gave you the pass. How does it benefit you even if they gave 7 guys the pass and they were pardoned? What is that going to say? Well, if I go to jail, he'll pardon me too if I get on the Capitol? No, they're getting the benefit. So that's another mode of misery, because now you got to deal with that individual that put the grace and loyalty in this one person, and they're not getting nothing out the deal, and the gas is going up higher.
True.
There's no way in the world this kid is not going to be a success. There's no way. Because now we're forgetting the most important part is God is in control. I promised you, trust me when I tell you, God is in control. This is not going to end nice. They put too much authority and loyalty to a man. And now the world right now, people hate each other. People hate each other because they hate themselves. You know, they're not happy with themselves. They have all these things, all these materialistic achievements, and they're still unhappy. Believe me when I tell you, the more you have, the less you're happy. If you look at the poor man and you're like, man, how could a person live like that? So that person sleeping on the train is probably more happier than you. With 10 cars in the garage, nice house, tons of money, still sitting there and say, I feel like crap. Biggie Smalls said that years ago, more money, more problems. So people don't tell you that the homeless guy, the person is poor, they don't have a lot. But when a person has a lot of things to do and accumulate and have the responsibility of having this, that breaks you down. This man right now is in a position right now where he got followers, but the followers are not going to get the benefit. He's going to get the benefit because he's going to tear shit up.
So that leads me to my next question. That was fantastic. How does that feel for you, knowing that it's going to get worse? You have a daughter, you have a wife, you have responsibilities. How does that feel for you that things, and they might, we don't know, find out before you freak out.
Right.
But if things go on this trajectory of denying and decreasing, or whatever you want to call it, just eradicating DEI, defunding thousands and multiple millions of dollars of grants, having people in the government be spies on each other. Hey, if someone's doing a DEI, you need to tell on them. Hey, if someone's not doing this, you need to tell on them. All of these things are slowly being put into place because we have a bunch of, I'm trying to use the nice word here,
Dictators,
followers.
followers, man. Followers are dangerous.
Followers. Followers are very dangerous.
Dangerous.
Because if you remember, and I'm not a historian, but Hitler never killed anybody.
Nope.
His
Never did.
followers did.
Followers did. That's right.
Followers did.
That's right.
And so Trump, I'm sorry, this guy might not do anything,
Right.
but his followers will. So how does that feel for you to watch this happen, and then you have to wake up this beautiful baby girl every day,
Mhm.
and you have to instill hope? How does that work for you? And I say this because it's not just you.
Right.
It's thousands, millions of Black men that have to wake up and walk out to an unknown space, but in their home, in their castle, in their sanctuary where they should be king, they have to share a message of hope. How does that feel for you? How does that work?
I struggle with that. And the reason why I do is because I knew when the situation was going to go in this direction. I kind of felt it because I knew the world was too miserable. The country was too miserable to go in a different direction. My brothers wasn't leading. There's a lot of big disappointments. But let me tell you, I use my close friend as, well, what's the proper word I'm saying? I use him as an experiment. And the reason why I use him as an experiment, because among many, there's other people too, but mainly him, because he represents how people think. Like, as ignorant as he is, as much as as smart as he thinks he is, he's actually quite stupid, right? And he is the representation of the common individual that supports him. Staten Island, where I live, is a lot like the country. Like, it's almost as if, like, you look at a person, right? And you support a person, this person slept with children and cut people's heads off and robbed innocent old ladies and did all these different things. And then you say, yo, we're going to put this person in office, right? So now the struggle is, how do you deal with this person on a level when they physically didn't do anything to you, right? How do you deal with that, knowing that, God forbid, the teacher calls and says somebody disrespected your daughter? How is that going to end when I come to the school? Like now it's to the point of, the more and more I'm quiet, I'm boisterous, online, but in the street, I don't say a lot. I just learn. Every single walk I take throughout the day is a testimony. So on a confident level, on the flip side, spiritually, I believe the good Lord is never going to let me down because he's in control. So that's what keeps me away from the violent side of that. Just the thought of that happening, you know what I mean? As far as dealing with some racism in school and something like that. Teasing kids and shit like that I could deal with, but, if there's going to be something, they're going to be, stick a damn American flag on her head or something, just anything random. I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. So I feel that being a father, thank God my father taught me to be a man. So I have to utilize all those teachings in this climate, because the majority of the men that are around didn't have that. So I'm able to read people so well. I already know, I pretty much know that we all have trauma, but I can see their trauma from a mile away. Because now I'm a father, now I got to think the way my dad had to think when he raised me as a man. So I don't have a son, but I have a daughter. So now the mode kind of like, I think if she was a boy, I think I would have been worse.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think it would have been, I don't think I would have probably been the same person. I probably would have beat my friend up. Because now I think. Because I don't want her to have the trauma that I seen when my father was beating up his sister's boyfriends when we were kids, and when I was a kid, baby. And in Brooklyn, and seeing them get knocked down the stairs like the movies, like literally. I remember my father knocked this dude down. He fell down, flew 2 flights of stairs and tumbled. And he left him there. I remember that because but this is the trauma that was happening, with the world itself. And we were seeing all these different things, and I felt as if whatever. Here, hold on to that.
Hey, baby girl.
So what ends up happening is it puts me in a position where when I was at my friend's house and I had her, and he's like, bring your daughter there, born is going to be kids. And it was for Christmas. So I'm like, his daughter's 10 years old. Like, nobody had any little babies, but in his household, he's this pro-Trump asshole. Now, mind you, guess what? How do you step in there with that? And what it did for me was, I think there was one thing I did. I think because he ordered all this food without even asking anybody what they wanted, just a whole bunch of bready stuff, right? So I'm like, yo, you know what I mean? I ordered this Italian food. There's no meat in this shit, like, right? So, she wanted something. He's like, oh, why are you babying her? And I said, you know what, man? I visioned it. I visioned me just literally smashing him, bow, right in his house. And then I knew I know that there's no turning back from that. Now something that turned from protection turned to assault. Now I got to pack her up, get her bag and everything. It's not the same. If I had a son, it's different. Because now the son is, hey, well, it wasn't nothing. My father didn't hide it from me as a kid. He hid it from my sisters. He didn't hid it from me because as a man, hey, this is what, and in a good way, it kind of matured me. Excuse me, it matures me, not even mature because we're still growing, right? It matures me not to take these things personal, to know that this is not a war. So now what I've learned was one-on-one when you talk to her, I said, listen, man, let me do, you gotta be, one thing you gotta watch, man, be careful how you talk to me. Now, nobody deals well with me with that because when this up happening now, that's gonna come off as a threat, right? You got to watch how you talk to me, man. You said something, man. You got to be careful you talk to me. Next time you do, I'm going to break your goddamn neck. He's going to be done with that. He's going to, because I don't want to scare him because he's a frail type of guy and he's not even built for that because I know he doesn't mean it in a negative way. Mm-hmm. But having her teaches me the strength of, listen, let me just make sure when I come to this house, I just come here by myself. The wife and daughter just can't come back over here. You know what I'm saying? Like because again, he gives me the strength to deal with society. My customers, they don't play those games at all. And even if they're hardcore, so-and-so supporters, they don't give me that because they know this is not the man to play with. We're missing as black men, we're missing that. The mode of that strength of getting on an elevator and seeing this big man and you're like, how you doing? How you doing, man? What's going on? And you're seeing shades because this guy got a big old coat. My boy told me he's in a halfway house because he got out of jail and he's like, the halfway house bought him 2 coats. I said, what kind of coats? Well, the coats I like, Bubble Goose. I'm like, my man, I didn't say it to him. I didn't get into that because at the end of the day, that's his choice. But how is a young man going to take you seriously and you dressed like him? How are you going to take you seriously and they see you in the boat? When they see you and your husband in a uniform, they're like, wow, like, you know what I mean? That's the uniform of with the power. You can't just come in there with sweatpants and a little Kango hat and flying up. You just can't do that, right? But people...
Don't stop me.
Right. So people, and so they take it serious. Hold on. No, you took the picture. Hold on. So what ends up happening is I've learned that the presentation among us is here. Press record. The presentation among us is not even well, because if brothers is going to the store to buy Bubble Gooses, the young men are not going to take you seriously because They don't have anybody to look up to. Society's going to think you look like every thug that walks in and out the store. They're not going to respect us as an authoritative figure unless we're with a uniform. You know what I mean? So on a common level, I feel that the men are not representing that, and people are going to take advantage. And that may be another thing you got to deal with, because now you got to deal with a youngster because he may think you just as young as him. And I never wanted to be the older guy where they mistake me for being young.
Oh my goodness. We have so many questions about this. Okay, so I have to tell everyone, we prepared 21 questions. This is not it, but this is so much better.
Yeah,
Because what do you do with that? Because
It
this
is.
young generation is taking their cues on what is grown, what is authoritative from social media. But that's not. That's not the case. They're not taking it from their peers and their elders because that's not what they're drawn to. So how do you deal with that as a Black man when you're walking around and everyone is walking around looking like a cartoon when they should be looking like a grown man, but that's not where they're getting their cues from? Where do you take that? Because that is, we see that every day. You don't have to be in the city. You see it at the suburbs. You see it. Any woman that is a mom, and I'm speaking from the mom perspective as a woman, you're speaking from the dad perspective as a man. You see it in elementary school, middle school, high school, whatever. They're not taking their cues from us.
Nope.
They're taking their cues from their iPad and their phones. So what do you do, and what is your perspective as a grown man for that?
You know, the one thing I've learned lately, I've been losing a lot of my OG soldiers.
No.
Like to the point where I had this discussion with my mother recently, and I said, you know, when Uncle Charlie passed, that was a major blow, because now I started having OGs that I looked up to coming to me with things they couldn't talk to their sons about. You know, like things that he could talk to another man about, but he couldn't talk to his son about. So, and their daughters knew this. Their daughters knew that when their uncle passed and he was laying on the floor, they knew, like, yo, let me call Nate. And the thing is that the authoritative figures that used to work for me is when I used to see growing up, when I see a man. I remember this one brother named Gene. He used to wear a suit. He used to always used to wear like a nice long raincoat, but he used to have the raincoat sometimes. If he had the suit on, he used to put it on there, hanging on his arm. And he had his briefcase, and he was a serious dude. He didn't smile a lot. And I remember one day we were playing around and we did something, man, and he like poof, and hit me in the chest. Like, we were playing, we were kids, and he's like, listen, man, you know, excuse my French, but I'm a man. I don't fucking play games with no kids. And I will never forget that. And the crazy thing was, he wasn't even an older dude. He was just more the mature dude. Like, he was the younger, mature cat. We didn't even play these games with the fathers that came to school, which was probably two of them at the time. But the ones that were, it was the present. So now, within my circle, I don't see the circle of men representing that. So the young man, and not to blame them because they don't know any better, because they're lacking fatherhood, they're lacking the mode of a father, a leader, they're lacking the mode where hip hop is kind of desensitized that, because nobody knows what does an OG look like that you don't play games with. Because that's what I grew up all my life. We feared OGs. Now the OGs are the clowns. Now the OG, you got the Busta Rhymes, you got the Snoop Dogs, you got the Rick Rosses. All these guys is clowns. And when people are like, oh, yeah, but it was at the White House, I'm like, those are not good examples. These guys are terrible. So I feel that men need to work harder on the presentation, where you still could look good, still look stylish, but look like a man. It's where kids or the younger people know the difference. They know that when I gotta use the elevator here, we live in New York. When they get on the elevator and there's 10 dudes and there's one serious man, they know at the end of the day, they bump this man, it could probably risk their lives. rather than we're going to take advantage of them because there's 7 of us. You understand? I feel that the men are not given the good representation. Granted, it's not about you having a beard and you trying to make yourself look young. It's beyond it. It's the foolery on YouTube, complaining, dragging women, destroying your neighborhoods because of your trauma as a child. None of these kids have anybody to look up to because the adults looking crazy. How they gonna look at it? Look at my friend that he has a daughter. She's 12 years old. She's half Dominican and half Puerto Rican. I mean, half Italian. He's not gonna be able to handle these boys that date her. They're not gonna even take him seriously because she deals with me more than an uncle. And that's one thing that keeps us close to her when she calls me Uncle C or whatever. But even her, she knows her father's not the example of the man that she would want to pick up from the school that's going to fear any boys. That she goes to all girls school anyway. He never dealt with that. So I feel that the men now are living so feminine. And then whenever we talk about a gay man, we just talk about these are heterosexual men with no balls and no style, no presentation. I got a dude now that's 60 years old, OG brother. And he's married. He got some other chick holding his car and all, just reckless, just corny shit. Still trying to be the man driving around with the seat back, trying to appeal to the young girls. And I'm like, yo, my man, you are an old dude looking crazy. Like, why not just be the seasoned veteran where somebody could look at, well, that's a nice looking gentleman. Look how he wears his clothes. You got your nice long wool coat. You got nice shoes. You serious and you a man. People appreciate that. And that's what I feel that black men are lacking in America now. When I talk about the Obamas, Obama wasn't even a quarter of where I'm going with that. If anything, Obama's wife got more balls than him. She more of a real one than him. But it's the mode of man not taking charge where they saying something reckless about Kamala, and a man may say, listen, man, you better watch your mouth. Man, you say that shit again, I'm gonna punch you right in the face. And that white man says, okay, you know what? He knows that's gonna hurt because he knows the worst shit to get hit by is a black man. You got Tyson jumping in this ring at nearly 60 years old for $20 million to coon because you know you gotta lose the fight, bro, because you're doing this for money. Like, why kill your legacy like that? Just for a couple extra dollars. You could have made that $20 million with a whole bunch of other stuff. You're Mike Tyson. So once again, he's one dude off my list. So I'm losing heroes. I'm not only losing heroes that's passing away, I'm losing heroes of people I looked up to. The LL Cool J's, the KRS-Ones, the African Bambatas. All these guys are lames. Then I'm losing real brothers. And the brothers that we got left, these guys are in the feminine zone. They're in their bag with everything. So anybody that's coming into the show right now, we're going to change the title because we're going to do the other thing the other day. We totally in a better, we in a different conversation right now, but this is where we at with it. But I want to understand that I'm frustrated, and my audience knows this. I'm frustrated with the impression of what a black man was. We are feared. We're still feared. And we're not feared because it's 30 of you. Yeah, they still feel that. But at the end of the day, we hit different. I don't mean in a sense of physically, but our presentation. So if we're given a better stance on what tall, dark, and handsome may be, why is that a white man? Like, why is it when we got the sexiest man in the world, there's a black man, is Flavor Flav? Come on, man. Flavor Flav? Respectfully, because he has humor. That's all y'all had to pick. You know, you could have picked the British guy or that actor. He's not from here. He's not American. Like, it's so bad that we have to get Flavor Flav with a clock on his neck and a hat to the side to be America's sexiest black man. You couldn't do better than that. Then when you had Denzel now, and Denzel said he kissed a man in the other movie. I mean, what's really going on? So I feel now the black man entirely is becoming such a coon. And as a man, I'm concerned because I'm raising daughters. And I don't want them to get me mixed up with him. I don't want them to get me mixed up with that moose. I don't want them to see me at the level. Okay, I see you, darling. I don't want them to get me at the level of They're mistaking me for the Coon Show. I don't want them to even have a discussion with me. What do you think about the Snoop Dogg thing? What do I think about the Snoop Dogg thing? I don't deal with Snoop Dogg. He's a clown. Why is he a clown? Because he's rich and you're not? Like, I don't want to deal with that little mentality where you can't even respect when a man says what he says. That's it. Don't question me. Don't question you asked a question, I gave you an answer. Now you got an issue with my answer. So what does the man have to do right now when he's 15 years old, a little boy, and he shoots somebody and runs and goes to his mother's room, put the gun in there? What examples does he have when the average guy that's out there selling crack look like him? They just older with gray hair talking about, yeah, little youngster, this is what we got to do together. He got the block sewed up with the same guys that could be his damn grandfather's age nearly. So it gives a bad impression because now these boys got to go to school with your daughter. They got to be in the site with them. They got to be on a subway with her. They got to be outside because the men are not representing. The men are not having these conversations with these young boys because the young boys ain't taking them serious because they look like children. They're not addressing them and saying, listen, man, like I did. I had a father tell me, listen, man, if you ever put your hand on my daughter, I'm going to kill you. I will never forget that. There's only one man told me that in my whole life. He said, period. No, if I'm going to kill you, period. That's it. You put your hand on my daughter. And it turned out to be a great father. We was cool, but he just had to say, listen, I got to tell you. So we keep using the thing at Mama's house or Big Mama's house when Martin and them had their little conversation, or I think it was Bad Boys where they had the conversation at the door. But it's deeper than that. So I'm just annoyed with the black males as a union, and I want us to raise our daughters and protect our women instead of pulling them down. So I'm concerned that from a white side and a black side. That's real.
So I love that. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in, but I love that you're honest with it and you carry that every single day. And you have to hold that in.
Right.
You have to keep that in.
Yes.
And so I'm butchering this. I came across this quote and I don't remember exactly where the book came from, but the quote is, hard times make strong men. Strong men make good times, but good times make weak men. And in that, I feel like we're in that good times, weak men thing. And so you saying that and you sharing, but one of the points you shared was what our men see, it's not what a man should be. And so how do you take that on as far as being a father to a daughter? Because you know what you came up as. You know what the dads you saw and what you did. What you mentioned earlier as far as, things aren't getting better and we'll slowly, I'm running out of time, but we'll slowly, we need to do this again because my 21 questions were not
No, that's
answered,
all right. That's all
Nathaniel.
right. No, that's all right. Well, it worked out even better because I didn't even title it for that. So,
No,
so
and that's fantastic.
we'll,
No,
we'll use it the
we
next time. Don't sweat
need
it.
to do this a
Yeah,
lot more often,
a
and we
lot
will.
more
But
often. We have to
as far
because
as
the
like,
audience wants to see this.
no, they should, but from a black man and your perspective, this is not what you grew up as. So, how do I phrase this? What are your concerns for your daughter? Because we all want our daughters to have, and it doesn't matter, a person that loves and respects them, but a person that can provide and protect.
Mhm.
And regardless of what that looks like, but we want a certain character and quality for our children. What are your, I'm not phrasing this properly, but I think you understand what I'm saying. What are your concerns for your daughter and what her generation sees?
Mm.
As you mentioned, what our generation often sees right now, and if you don't mind, we'll slowly start to bring this to a close and we'll figure out the rest of this conversation. But what our children are seeing, it's not what we saw. And I think we were able to have a different perspective and we have our strength and we have our, our groundedness,
Right.
and we see what we see, but we also have who we are. But we didn't get that from social media. We didn't get that from iPads and chats and AI and groups. We got it from human interaction.
Right.
And being that this generation doesn't get that, and our next generation is not getting that at a younger age, what are your opinions? And actually, I should be more specific. What are your concerns for that next generation?
I feel that if that generation, which is Generation Alpha,
I
if
know. Isn't that
yeah,
crazy? But yeah.
Generation Alpha, it I feel that if the men don't become leaders in every aspect possible, whether that's going to be political, whether that's going to be at your job, whether that's going to be an entrepreneurial level, if men are not becoming leaders in their families and their daughters and their sons are seeing this, that generation is going to be fried. What I'm going to do, I feel that the best education for any child is to teach them. And you have to teach them early. You have to mold them early. Some people feel like, oh, well, your kid could be your buddy in a sense as far as, we're close, but your kid can't be your friend. And I feel that, I'm not here to give my daughter what I didn't have. I'm going to give her exactly what I had. Because some people feel like, well, I'm going to give my kids what I didn't have. I'm like, yeah, but maybe what they didn't have was probably better for you. You know what I mean? You probably going to give them a whole bunch of things and then destroy them. I knew how important it was that my dad had told me how to raise a son if I had one, or how to raise a daughter. And the one thing that he lacked on doing with my sisters was teaching them what he taught me about the opposite sex, about friends, especially the opposite sex. That was probably an uncomfortable thing and in a lot of black holes for a lot of black men to do. So the main thing that I want to do is you have to be involved in these children. You don't be involved by being the cool dad. You have to be involved by being the serious dad. You're learning and you're watching and you're teaching constantly. When there's a question, unless you're working or whatever, but when there's a question, take the time because this time goes by fast. It goes by fast, and I'm not an Instagram dad. This is not a thing for like, oh, look at me, and I'm the greatest father in the world. And our phone just died. So I want people to she'll be back because she held me down the same way. I want people to embrace that. I think that even if the women here, they're not my daughters. These women are these are not my daughters here. These women here that we hold down, they show the love and the respect and the loyalty because of how we take time with each other. But I just want the men to be more involved with really realizing how important it is for our presentation. Because I know that time flipped and you probably think that, you're still the same old person and you're not. Like, you have to show a level of growth, and growth is a beautiful thing, whether it's you're older or younger. So you put that time in for your kids, everybody else's kids. These are not just kids, like meaning you have a child. This also means in your neighborhood, people have to know that man, he always smells good. He's always nice. He's serious and it's respected. But if everybody is thinking that the same average guy is this one is that, they could take advantage of this guy because he's the older gentleman and this dude is the gangster of the block. That shit that's a problem there. Like, how old is the gangster of the block? 40 years old? Like, that shit is ridiculous. So I feel that the presentation to raise our daughters, and I say daughters loosely with our women, our black women of the world, that generation, whether it's Generation X to Generation Z to millennials to alpha, even the baby boomers. I feel that they need to see better black leaders for their women, for their daughters, people that's on the outs of leaving the world prematurely, people that could leave the world prematurely. I think people need to know the motive, knowing like, wow, you know, if I leave this world, I know that we raise enough few good men to protect her. I feel that that's something that's lacking. I think that we all need to come together. And I know it sounds so cool by y'all, but I think once the presentation and the images get better with us, I feel that we'll see a better change, because that's something that is definitely lacking in a major, major way. But listen, Dawn's probably not going to come back because her time was already up. But we're going to probably do I didn't even title this as the 21 question thing. I just wanted people to realize how important it is how a man, as you can see, can express himself passionately and be comfortable to the point where the passion could take him over so well. It's like he's feeling the Holy Ghost. You know, the passion could be so strong for him to carry the expression over because he's comfortable. You don't want a discussion to be a debate. Sometimes a man could be in his zone and you could say, well, I disagree. And you're like, well, this ain't a debate. You know what I'm saying? This is an expression. You know, if you're doing a debate, you have pushback, you started off as a debate. You can't start off a casual conversation and let that go into a debate mode, because now it ends up happening. You're fueling the fire, and now you're going to be like one of the people, like Dawn said this on a plane, that's coming in with all that anger because you just got on in with one of your homegirls because a cool conversation you was comfortable with started out, and now that she started and then it went left. You know what I mean? That's the things that we need to stop doing. So I feel that if we see better images, even as grown men will jump on the ball. They'll be like, yo, dude is a smooth dude. I like this dude's style. Among many, we have no good representations at all. We do not. You know what I'm saying? All them coons that you talked about that was at that Trump little pre-inauguration event rapping. I mean, you talking about Nelly, Snoop. I mean, come on, man. Come on. You know, whoever wasn't there wasn't supposed to be there. And whoever was there, I mean, listen, why question what it is? I mean, Snoop has always been a goofball. I don't know why Dre didn't jump on the stage with him. And it's not the motive supporting, it's that these images of these men are clown. These are social media goofballs. Rick Ross, clown. Snoop Dogg, clown. Nelly, clown. The Village People jumping on that shit, that was corny. Anybody that dealt with Trump is a clown. Period. I don't care if you're a billionaire and you went to him like, he's going to mess my company up. You know what I'm saying? There's billionaires out here like, yo, nigga, go try it. Go try it and see what I do to your country. You understand? You got to think on the levels of, you know, Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg ain't gangster. You got to look at the images. That's why I don't even make a big thing about that. I feel that passionately, I love these topics, even though I try not to talk about them. But I also know that the images are diluted. It's just not a good, you know, niggas want to be hustlers too much. And that shit is corny. It's played out. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, the strong male figures that we had, that we see in movies, action movies, they're about to do a reboot for Little House on the Prairie. I'm like, another reboot? Are we going to do this again? Why? Because they got nothing left. They literally have to do a reboot. So now they're going to make a reboot and totally desensitize the original cast. Why do they keep doing this? Why can't they just leave things alone? They try to make The Honeymooners, and corny ass Cedric the Entertainer was supposed to play Jackie Gleason. That's a disgrace. Jackie Gleason was a wonderful actor. It wasn't just about him being in Honeymooners. You could never redo the past. Just embrace the future. Create something. That's like I tell women. Don't try to know everything. Just become smarter. That's all. The more you learn, the smarter you'll be. That's just it. You don't want to be a dumb idiot. I mean, a smart idiot. That's what you don't want to be. You want to be able, because again, we didn't even have enough time with the amount of things me and Dawn were supposed to talk about, but you still caught the motive of me. You start to still see the transparency of me getting passionate in an expression, and for a woman to take heed to that and pull that in. And, you know, whether it's her or anybody else, you know what I'm saying? She's representing us as well, but this is just generally with women. But we're not getting the right leaders. When I'm in my neighborhood, sometimes you got to speak to how y'all doing. How's everything going? You know, I seen a woman today. She said she was like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't have to hold the door because she's slow. And I said, I'm going to wait here and wait for you. I'm going to help you with your bags. You have to take that time. So when the little homies is looking up and they're like, yo, man, I used to always like how you was, man. You always drove a nice car. I like the way you dress. Dressing don't mean trying to impress them. Dressing could be the motive, like, that's a man. We're not giving that anymore. And I know it's still there because we had it. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Maya. We've had it. I've experienced it. I grew up with this. I knew the difference between, believe it or not, if a bum was a bum or a man was a man, even if you dress bummy, you know what I mean? But now you can't tell the difference. You know what I'm saying? Niggas is walking outside in pajama pants and Crocs in 20-degree weather, walking to the store. You see a group of dudes with their hoodie and dreads, with their pants hanging off their ass and Jordans. In the winter, nigga, how you wearing sneakers in the winter? What kind of bum shit is that? You know, when you see an FBI agent or a Secret Service and they're in an inauguration and walking down or wherever, you see them with that long coat and you know what's under them coats. People respect that. People respect uniform. And I feel that the black man is not expressing himself with uniform appropriately at all. Literally. Granted, I don't mean you can't wear sneakers, but like, you know what I mean? Make sure when you wear them, you're not looking like them. If you got locks, unless them shits are long as hell, don't let them hang. Put that shit up in a style because the bum nigga's going to dress like that. That's how he dresses. If your hair is super long, yeah, you can wear your head down because now you got more of a Rastafarian appeal. That style alone is the length. But if you're not growing the length, put it up in a style. Put it up in a style that the young dude's not going to do because he's not clean or polished enough to do that. Show him what he can do with his own hair. Show him that he can put his hair up in a ponytail where it looks good rather than hanging and looking like a bum. This is the difference. You know, when you wear, some people say, well, you can't wear shades unless it's sunny. That's not true. You could have a tint in your glass and walk through the streets at night. A lot of brothers in the 80s and 70s was doing that. It went with their beard. It went with their mystique. It went with their whole image. It's important. So on a flip side, it's not really their fault, old and young, because they don't have no impressions. You got the average rap dude in their 50s clowning themselves. You can't name me a rapper right now where their swag is impeccable. No one. You can't name me anybody. How is it that Eminem has the biggest record in the world and we haven't heard a song about it? We haven't heard any record on there. He's low key, dresses all in black. He's a regular looking cat. You know what I mean? But meanwhile, everybody else, Jay-Z had the swag thing, but Jay-Z is too much of a prima donna. It's too bitchy, man. I can't deal with that. Jay-Z's too feminine, man. Not gay, but just very feminine. You know what I mean? We don't have no good images of nothing. And he's a hot mess when he walks out. When we had Diddy, he's polished, he's gone. R. Kelly was a good dude when he was out there with his style, and he ended up being a rapist. Like, it's just the game is, we don't have no impressions. So the man, whether they're young or older, can't turn to nobody when the average dude looks like them. There's no move or mean of really creating images because people have ran out. They don't even know what to create. There's nothing there. You know, and I know that for me, that's something that I struggle with as an individual, because I know that it's important to think of a trendsetter, think of doing things that this person don't do, and you'd be surprised if, as a child, we was inspired by OGs, and now we're driving their cars that they were driving. Because in their old cars, you got to think on the level of, are you going backwards or forward? And that's one of my biggest things as a man. And I feel that women have to understand how important that is. So when a man's expressing that, just listen. Just listen. You could ask, move on to the next. Just listen. Let him express and then come up with a solution. You may have a solution that may be like, you know what? He may need to switch his style up. Style is very important, man. You know, people in this world, we don't walk around in our birthday suits, okay? Unfortunately, right? We don't walk around in our birthday suits. So everything is based on your presentation. I seen this woman today. She was on a Good Day New York, and she has a nice business suit and pretty shoes, and she was so amazing grace. The expression was so amazing, and she wasn't even dressed like a slut. I don't like women that dress like that. I really, really don't. The only thing I could deal with at the most is leggings, because leggings could be whatever. You know, leggings is just a woman's version of jeans. However, you should also know how to wear other certain clothes. You know what I mean? You may have leggings because you're going to the gym, running errands or whatever, but I feel once you get to the level of wearing leggings in person and you got to crack up the butt and all that, it's just like, come on, boo. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even me as a man, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you got little girls watching that. You know what I mean? You got little perfect boys watching. That shit is corny. Like, that's cool if you come to visit shorty and she walking around a crib like that, but now a nigga squeeze your butt and he's going to jail. You know, so even that got to change. A woman especially, because y'all got way more levels of clothing to dress in. You know what I mean? It's easy to dress a woman. You know, y'all gotta have everything. But boys, our shit is boring. Like, we don't really have much, but that on both ends, it makes it even more. Like, y'all have so much more you can do. And on the flip side, he doesn't have to do much. But, you know, my nephew now, he has locks. I think it's his birthday tomorrow. I'm going to say happy birthday. And I never want to wear my locks like him. He should be wearing them like me. So now he was telling my sister, I guess he was like, you know, he wants to put blonde tips. So now when he puts blonde tips in his hair, I can't keep these in here. You know what I mean? He has to always see me upgrading and doing something different, because that's the impression you're going to have on a person when they get older. And it will be impressive if you do it right. If you don't do it right, you ain't going to do nothing. You know? If dudes is running around now and you got like a whole collection of Jordans and you trying to be the young dude on the block and with the kids, so they be like, yo, you lit. That shit is whack, B. Like, put that shit on ice, man. Like, it's too many children wearing them shits. Put them shits in the closet and just wait for another time for them to mature, and maybe they could get on something. I'm not saying for you to walk outside with a church suit. I'm just saying we have to give our maturity level a little different and separate the boys to the men, and that's how the women are gonna follow that in the most positive way. So shout out to Dawn. We'll do this again. Again, this was a class. Let me see. Oh wow. Oh. So this is a mood. This is a mood. You know, this is a mood to let everybody know that there's just a way of doing things, and I'm not happy with it. So they always say, if you have a problem with it, do something about it. And that's important. But I need everybody. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, you need to have this mindset. Because I feel now that it's too many. I was on the phone with one of my homies last night, man. He didn't even realize that was probably the most educational conversation he ever gave me. I'm just going to keep it there. I ain't going to say too much because some of his people be watching me and running their mouth and causing problems. But on a positive note, it was very, very educational, period. Not entertaining, very educational. I learned a lot. And I learned a lot of the things that's missing. Again, I didn't give any ad libs. I didn't give any disagree and none of that. I just listen, and learn. That's it. That's what I do. I listen, and learn. And the more and more I kept listening, I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." So it's not just me. It's really a limited society out here of the circle that I'm speaking of. Is very limited, and I appreciate the brothers that are here. I appreciate the men that are here. I appreciate the people that follow me and love what I do. And I do what I do, you know what I mean? It's a blessing, you know what I mean? It's a talent, and that's what keeps me going. But it's just a mode of knowing that from hygiene, man, hygiene. Like, I done had conversations with y'all men how to wash your balls. Like, forget the woman, nigga. Like, I can't tell a woman how to wash, you know what I mean? A woman could tell a woman. I could tell a man how to wash. I'm a man. You understand? No man should be talking about whose things stinking. Like, how about y'all niggas be stinking? Like, you know, do you understand? Most niggas don't know how to wash their nuts properly. Real talk, because they just don't. Nobody educate. We don't have these conversations amongst men. So when you're doing your hygiene the right way, on top of the way you're wearing clothes that fit your body, that accommodate you and make you still look good as you get older, y'all niggas are getting older and looking worse. It's so depressed. I be seeing niggas I go to school with, like, yo, we getting old. I'm like, nah, nigga, like, you know, forget the fact. They say, well, you getting old. No. Now I get to the point where I'm like, damn, well, look at him. Look at him. You know, the representations are terrible. Like, we're just not doing it right. So he's gonna go by what he sees on social media, what his favorite rapper does, and say, well, he did it, I'll do it. That's how they really think. People go by that. So I feel that we have to create something new. Stop trying to do over whatever has been done. It's been done. It's not the same. We need to create something new. Period. The end. Much love to y'all, man. I appreciate y'all, guys. So once again, you know, I hope that you was enlightened by this conversation. And women, this is not, as you can see, I'm not saying, oh, you need to do this. No, we need to do. I think once you start seeing the leadership going into a better direction, the women are gonna jump on. I'm telling you, that's just how it goes. You know what I mean? Like, people want to be part of something that's lit. It ain't nothing new. So in this society right now, with everything falling apart, you got to create your own shit now. Like, enough is enough. You know what I'm saying? So, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all. Have a good night. I appreciate y'all. And thank you for joining a special class featuring Dawn, part of the Billionaire Be Mindset University. Support our book, The Aviatrix Mindset. Look it up on Amazon. I'll put everything in the description. But much love to y'all, man. Y'all have a beautiful night. Peace.